This is gonna be interesting. All right, we're live, and then we got Hexel, Colorado here, your Dallas Gang organizer. We have
Tony in the quartermaster.
Hey, yeah, we gotta. You know what? Quartermaster just sounded such a cool name. I feel like you do more than quartermastering.
What is quartermaster?
I throw quarters at people. That's
Oh.
what I do.
It's
in lieu of $1,000 a month.
in charge of inventory. Well, what earned him title of
You
quartermaster is that he was the one who actually provisioned these shirts, these Dallas Gang. I'm not gonna put my shirt up, but
I love
as you can
the
see,
shirt.
Manny first, and then do you guys want to say hi briefly? You're not on the thumbnail anymore, but we'll just show. This is Norman and Kennedy and Laura.
What's up?
So, unfortunately, I didn't bring my webcam, so I could just turn it around conveniently. So I'll lesson learn for next time. Oh, I just realized the microphone's all the way over here. So you guys probably didn't hear the intro. Oh well. So today we have a weekly how to talk about Andrew Yang workshop, and we have it here at Fang Shaw Tea House, and really interesting snacks and drinks. So the purpose of this workshop is to basically learn talking points, share talking points about Andrew Yang's different policies, so that when we go out and talk to other people, we're all well equipped with knowledge. So the first half we share talking points, and then the second half we practice talking on each other. And so we'll play devil's advocate. We'll take turns pretending to be someone who doesn't know anything about Andrew Yang, and we'll take turns like basically giving our 1-minute answers to different questions. And then I'll pass around this thing every time we want to share something. So today, for the first half of talking points, we have 3 topics. We have the third debate, we have climate change, and we have controlling the cost of higher education. And so I'm going to run the first 2 because I had some notes, and then I thought I'd let maybe Kennedy. Do you want to run take the wheel for the controlling higher costs of education? Okay, so we'll do that 1/3. So if you want to prepare yourself, you'll have time. Okay, so the third debate, I have some talking points prepared, but I wanted to go around and see what do you guys generally think, kind of like first impressions after the debate. Do you want to share?
So the results of the third debate, it's kind of everything that you expected when you do follow Andrew Yang. It's anyone that doesn't really follow him, they're kind of wondering when we're at the debate watch party, like, what is going on here? What is it? Do they know something that we don't know? I mean, him making that announcement with giving away the $1,000 a month to 10 families, it's shocking more than anything. If you didn't follow Andrew Yang, it shouldn't come as a shock to you if you remember the end. So that's definitely like a bigger talk point. The fact is, though, he still utilizes his time. Anyone that I talked to when I went abroad, they always said Andrew Yang has no filler when he talks. It's everything is straight to the point. He maximizes his time. And I think, and then the enthusiasm, we're in Plano, Texas, around the Democrats there. We're making the most noise. That just shows that our base is more energized. And, it really does you look at mainstream media and podcasts, you're starting to realize that those outlets aren't really producing the content that we deserve to hear.
Yeah. Did anyone else want to share about
I don't know about you guys, but when Yang announced his plan to do to give like 10 freedom dividends away to 10 families, like the other candidates kind of laughed at him, and I remember like it really kind of hurt at the time that it was like, why are they laughing? This is like someone that we all like work really hard for, and that we like really believe can help. But then like the more that I watched social media in the days afterwards, everyone who was previously fans of those candidates were like, I don't know why they laughed. It really hurt me when they laughed because like Andrew Yang is clearly trying to help the American people. And so like it hurt then, but now it's like really exciting to see people, look into his policies now and like understand who he is and join the Yang gang. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Did you want to, or you want to just?
I totally.
I mean, I see the dots. I wonder if it doesn't have a timestamp on the sound. It might have been like very early on. We had the mic just sitting over here. It was like we were not holding it to our mouth. So if you guys still can't hear the sound, then please let us know, and we'll try to rectify it. Okay. Again, this is experimental. This is the first time doing this.
Our mics got muted.
It's working now. Okay, good. Thanks, Mark. I hope you are enjoying. I mean, learning something here. This is valuable. This is our first time doing a live stream. This is our third time doing this workshop, but people have asked us to record it. So
Really quick, Axel,
yes.
I'm torn through all the legal stuff. Oh, sorry, this is not. I'm currently I work as a legal assistant.
Oh man. Know what it is? You know what it is? It's we're turning it down a bunch. So sometimes mic gets disconnected at the little cable here. Hey Mark, can you hear us now? Thank you for being patient with us as we experiment for the first time. Okay, because I see the little green dots, so hopefully it's a learning experience for us all. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you. I don't know. It says there's 2 people watching, and apparently that includes you. Try taping the cable. Okay, we'll keep that in mind for next time. Actually, what I might do is just get a better mic, because as you can see, it's just a headset that we're holding it, moving around. You did? Oh, okay, good. Well, what was it? Well, I know we're going on a tangent. I'm sorry, but like, I had bought those like microphones for interviewing because I recommended it to you, right? But for some reason, it wouldn't connect. Like, it wouldn't record from my computer. It would only record when I had it connected to my little receiver device. So I'm not an audio technician. So if people have suggestions, then feel free to send us a message and help us out. We're a bunch of amateurs. So, okay, back on track. And by the way, if I ever do get off track, then just say get back on track.
I always tell you.
Yeah, Tony tells me. Okay. Yes. So I will cover a little bit, which is that Yang 2020 has a full compliance team. And so their compliance team is generally very on the ball. Like, they're so active that they actually crack down on things we say in the Slack workspace. So the reason I mention that, it's not like he just came up with this on his own without any legal guidance. Yeah, and he was a corporate lawyer himself. So so that's to give some context that this isn't just a willy-nilly throw things at the wall. Yeah.
like before we get into the legality of this, I really think it's so telling that people are even questioning if it's legal or not. I mean, I think that this says how ideological he is. He's practicing what he's preaching. He wants to make this happen whether or not he is president. I don't understand why people would even try to like make a legal issue about this, because like he said, there's so many campaign funds that go towards like not the people, and it just goes towards ad time, and he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's doing what he wants to promote, and it just shows how genuine his um like belief in UBI is. And so to even question the legality of it, I think is just kind of insulting. And I don't understand why we don't question where campaign money goes when it goes towards like ads or something like
Right.
that. Anyway,
That's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't have it in my notes originally, but that actually brings up a whole other tangent, which is that there was a meme, one of those Joker memes where he's in the hospital, right? There's one that says, spend $300,000 on ads, no one bats an eye, but spend $120,000 lifting people out of poverty, and everybody loses their mind, right? And then, okay, another tip: there's a little hole here, so you have to hold it towards you. I think that might be part of it. I don't know. Because I couldn't see the screen. Anyways, so I think another aspect of it is that people do giveaways from campaigns all the time. Like they do giveaways where if you donate $1, we'll fly you to the debate. If you donate, we'll pay for your hotel. Yeah, I mean it's Omaze. Yeah, I mean they do the whole sweepstakes stuff, but campaigns specifically, because they're subject to FEC guidelines, is if you look around, all campaigns do giveaways, right? Like whether it's paying for hotel rooms, having dinner with Warren, that's a thing. Having a beer with Warren, or meeting Pete, or so they have giveaways all the time. It's just that this is the first time that a giveaway was just giving people cash. It's like if there's a conversation around how you'd prefer cash versus the gift card. You know what I mean?
right.
I prefer $20 cash versus a $20 Staples gift card, which I'll never use. So it's along the same vein. Okay, so that's a lot about like the effect of it. Now let's get to the compliance. So he has a compliance team. He's run it by them. It has been done before. I'm just hitting the low hanging fruit because I bet Kennedy's going to go into deeper stuff. It's not a bribe because there's no requirement that they actually vote for him. In fact, the award extends beyond the election. So even if he loses, which Yang Gang willing, he won't lose. But even if he does lose, then people still get their money. So that's why it's not a bribe. It's not buying votes. They're fully welcome to use the money however they want and to vote for whoever they want. Okay, so that's all I have for my notes. Kennedy, are you ready to share something? Yeah. He said, try an omnidirectional cardioid mic next time. Will do, Mike. Will do, Mark. Will do. In fact, you're welcome to like send us your recommended like Amazon link. Wait, the omnidirectional one?
I know, but it's like tech to set it up.
You should. Yes. Yeah. Please bring it. That's awesome. That'll save me money because I bought so much equipment.
You bought it too?
Well, yeah, because I have the ones like for interviewing, and I bought the receiver. Well, because I needed something that can plug into the computer and then do live audio. For some reason, it wouldn't. Yeah. We're stalling for time. Is this about helmets? Oh, this old helmet. No, it's not about helmets. Good job getting us to. What? That's funny. Is that what you do? You just go into random streams and ask if things are about helmets? No, but if you have recommended audio helmets, then okay. All right, we good. We finished stalling for time. You ready? All right. So Kennedy's going to talk to us about the legality of the giveaway.
Can I put this like on my head?
Sure.
Sorry, I'd
Yeah.
need to. Okay.
Wow, she's actually using it.
So, full disclaimer, definitely not a lawyer. One day maybe, but currently I'm not a lawyer.
Don't be so humble.
Sort of. I work at a law office but that's it. That's all. I'm not gonna put myself anyway. So basically, the proper use of campaigns, funds, and resources is detailed out on the Senate Committee of Ethics site. Which, if you just like type in ethics house government, like the whole website will come up. So they have a lot of rules for campaign resources. The big one that we would probably be talking about with the Yangs is that you may not expend funds from a campaign account that are not attributable to bona fide campaign or political purposes. So if this ever were to come in front of a court, they would have to prove that this freedom dividend that they're trying is for a bona fide political or campaign purpose. Sorry, I'm trying to put all the words together. It's hard. It's a lot of like legal jargon. We don't know until it gets like argued in court.
I know the general definition of that, but keep going. I don't want you to jump back.
So like for instance, there was the case, I couldn't tell you when, but basically this guy wanted to give all of the veterans in his district medals for landing at the D-Day invasion. And it was decided that it was okay for him to do that because the medals were between $13 and $17. So that's obviously not $1,000. And that is kind of where you start to get into this gray area of, is it too much? The other thing is, I don't know if he said on the stage that it would come out of his personal funds or not.
Oh, it took up from campaign funds.
Okay, so if it does come directly out of campaign funds, I think that it's fine, because most of the rules in the ethics house are like, can you use campaign funds to pay your cell phone bill? Can you use it as a gift to a foreign dignitary? This kind of thing where you're directly giving money to voters has never even been on anyone's radar. And that's why people don't know if it's legal or not, because there's not a strict legislation about it. But as far as I can tell looking through it, you can use campaign funds for charitable or community service projects, which this could go under. And you could also use it for, like I said, bona fide political projects. All of the charity services have been done way under $1,000. If you want to like talk about the state of politics, like most charitable donations by campaigns have been like 20,000. So this is definitely the most a politician has ever given back. But that's also why it's, no one has given this much before, so nobody knows if it's legal or not. So yeah, it should be. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be, but that's kind of is there any questions that I need to clear up?
I have something after that, but that's really good.
To you?
So,
I just think.
I'm sorry.
Basically, I just think, people are going to be dissecting this for a long time, which is the effect that you intended. So, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot to add that the FEC says that basically anything is in the clear if you contact them first. And so I find it hard to believe that a corporate lawyer would forget to contact the FEC about something that he wanted to do. But he also probably wouldn't make it public that he contacted them. So there's a good chance that this has been legal since, months before we even knew this was going to happen. And there's no reason to discuss it. So.
Yeah. You want to add?
So I just want to add to the build up. He's every time he's gone on a show, he went on Stephen Colbert, announced that he was doing a giveaway. So everything's been built up to it. So I mean, if you look at it, he started off when he started off his campaign, he already was giving a family $1,000, and as time goes by, he's making that process work. And this big announcement of 10 families, for people that follow Andrew Yang, it is a surprise, but at the same time, it's not. And, you can only imagine how far is it going to go and how many other families are going to get it. And, it's something that's been planned out. Like he said, this is something that was planned out a long time ago. It's just it's almost like WWE in a way. It's if you look at behind the scenes, all the candidates say the same thing over and over. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that he's giving that money to families right now.
Yeah. Awesome. And so I think we've covered that topic pretty well. I think the last thing is additional resources are Problem Solver Politics is a great podcast on YouTube and on podcast networks. And Problem Solver Politics has a great episode specifically talking about the legality of this. And so if you want to learn more, I definitely recommend checking out that podcast episode where they talk about it. And also, they actually already knew or had hints what the surprise was going to be, even though they never alluded it before. Because they actually had interviewed the campaign staff weeks before. They actually considered doing not 10, but actually 42 to cover all of the states that they're currently not doing a giveaway in. So, so that's a little insight. So, yeah, so Problem Solver Politics has a great episode on that, and so I definitely recommend checking that out. All right, so I think the final point that we leave before going off of the third debate is we've just filled the pool of knowledge quite a bit. I think the biggest takeaway that you want to remember is this quote from the Houston Chronicle, the San Francisco Chronicle, which is, "Pundits laugh at Andrew Yang, but normal people do not." Right? And I think that's the most powerful thing you can say when the topic of the giveaway comes up, or even when the topic of the freedom dividend in general comes up, because there's going to be a lot of people who think it's a gimmick, but it's not.
Can we call it something else?
My hand up.
You could use the phrase "hand up." Yeah, I've actually seen people use that. So Laura just asked if we can use the term something other than freedom dividend. I think.
No, like instead of raffle.
Oh, instead of raffle. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Like you can.
Trial, yeah, it's a trial to scale up.
Yeah.
Really study on the freedom dividend.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, because Problem Solver Politics bring this up, which is that I mean, in a sense, it is also a study, right, to demonstrate the effects of the freedom dividend on real families, and so you could actually talk about it as if it's a campaign study or it's a hand up. So there are definitely other ways to talk about it other than as a giveaway. All right, so we're going to move on to our next topic of things, which is climate change, and so I'm not.
There's a
Oh,
hashtag on Twitter called #GangGangD.
oh, you want to talk about it?
Oh yeah, sorry.
What is the hashtag?
There's a hashtag on Twitter going around called #YangGangDeed, where you do something nice and then for someone. So I'm gonna go pay for these people's coffee real quick.
Oh.
You should video her doing that, paying it forward to me.
Oh. So is that what she's going to do?
Inaction.
She's going to actually pay. She's actually going to go. She's going over there and paying for the next person's drink. So this is like our little like break from like heavy talking. We are. So she's somewhere over here. She's doing it. No, he's good. So yeah, I mean I don't know. I see one person's on. I don't know if it's still the same person. It might still be. I don't know if you can tell me who's live. So we are going to let her finish that and get the ball rolling on the climate change discussion. So we're not going to go into the weeds a whole lot because, to be frank, there is a ton of material about climate change that's probably too much to go over in a single 30-minute session. However, I do want to touch on a few key highlights. So the first thing is that there's this thing called the Sunrise Movement and the Global Climate Strike happening starting this Friday, and it runs a whole week. So literally the Global Climate Strike is across the entire globe. There are marches, there are rallies, there are events during the 7-day period where we bring attention to climate. And this is the DFW Yang Gang. So for anyone living in Dallas, you should know that this Friday at 7 o'clock is the Climate Strike March at the Continental Bridge. If you live in Dallas, you know where that is, or it's underneath the large march. And so we're going to try to get the Yang Gang out there. And so back to the topic. you can learn more about what's going on from a climate change movement perspective at Sunrise by googling Sunrise Movement, and then also for Yang's climate plan, you can go to yang2020.com and read his policy plan. But I also did something special. So as of today, I actually did it this morning. I bought yangclimateplan.com and I pointed it to the website. Yeah. So if you tell your friends to go to yangclimateplan.com or yangsclimateplan.com. So I actually bought two domains just in case you guys mess up. yangclimateplan.com and yangsclimateplan.com both go to the policy plan. And so that's an easy way to remember where to go. Yeah. So, and we might even do that on a banner or something during the climate strike. So, and I really, that's ultimately what I wanted to point out as far as the climate plan itself. And so really I wanted to use this as a launch pad to find more resources because, again, this is too huge of a topic. So look up Sunrise Movement, read their website to learn more. Global Climate Strike, look at their website to know what's going on. And then here's some resources to look at. So there's a website called GRIST, GRIST, that wrote an article called Andrew Yang, Fearmonger or Climate Realist. And it's actually a really great article because it addresses what a lot of progressives are concerned with, which is that Andrew Yang might not be progressive enough. And so here's an excerpt from the article. Yang may be a bummer, but he's the only Democratic candidate talking seriously about adaptation, something many experts say we need to do in addition to mitigating the effects of climate change to survive on a warming planet. So that paragraph right there encapsulates the misconceptions that we have to break, as well as the perfect framing to tackle it. So I'll read it again. He's the only Democratic candidate talking seriously about adaptation, something many experts say we need to do in addition to mitigating the effects of climate change, right? Because a lot of people I've talked to, when I talk about him being the third position, which is that we're 10 years too late, then a lot of people interpret that as defeatist or saying, oh, there's nothing left we can do. No, there's actually a ton we need to do. In fact, we need to go even further and consider all the options. So that's an article to look up. Google, Andrew Yang, Fearmonger or Climate Realist is a great article. Nerds for Yang has a great video about his climate change policy, as well as Paget Kagi on YouTube has a great video. And I think the biggest thing to take away from is the fact that the U.S. only contributes 15% of global carbon emissions. And so when you're looking at people's different climate plans, you have to look at it not from the perspective of what are they going to do within the United States, but what are they going to do about the 85% of climate pollutants that the United States isn't directly responsible for. But in order to to tackle that remaining 85%, I actually want to read a quote from Greta Thunberg. Yes. Greta Thunberg had this quote that said, United States has a moral responsibility. In Sweden, when we demand politicians to do something, they say, it doesn't matter what we do because just look at the US. So I think that's a great quote to use when you're talking to people, is because, if you think about the fact that this 85% is not covered, how does the U.S. respond to that? And they have to take the stance of we're a leader. And if we don't do something, then these other countries responsible for the remaining do anything either. And so that's a stance to take. All right, so that's a lot already. So I wanted to cap this off with Yang's climate plan fits in with the Green New Deal. Before I move on to that, does anyone want to add anything to what we've talked about already?
I think we should have our own topic on climate change as a whole. It's just there's so much about climate change. You see different sources of energy and how it's constructed. It's complicated. Like I can see different sources of energy from wind, to solar. Like there's a lot of positive and negatives that come out of it. So we need another topic for that.
Yeah. Okay.
For everyone who's watching, climate things that Andrew Yang has the most policies for on his website. And so I don't know, people will be like, oh, he's not a green candidate, but he's like the green candidate because there's whole sections on his policy page that are like, I mean, he has so many about climate change. So yeah, we do need a whole other day for it.
It's so complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one more thing I'll interject for the kind of talking point is that Yang's climate plan is actually largely influenced by Jay Inslee's climate plan. And if you guys remember Jay Inslee, the governor of Colorado, his entire campaign revolved around fighting climate change. Oh, you have a little anecdote? Yeah, okay. And so the one thing I wanted to say about Jay Inslee is that a lot of Jay Inslee supporters, which they're not that many to begin with, unfortunately, for better or for worse, but there was a lot of people who immediately jumped ship from Jay Inslee to Andrew Yang and actually helped Yang write that plan. This is based on, and I'm saying this based on an interview with Steve Marchand, a candidate for governor in New Hampshire, was giving this insight of where the Yang climate plan came from. So if you want to learn more about how the Yang climate plan was written, go on YouTube and search "Nerds for Yang" interview with Steve Marchand, and he talks about it. All right, Kennedy, you want to add something to that?
Yes, actually. At the the first debates, I was on Twitter and there was someone who was like a Jay Inslee fan and he like tweeted something. He was like, "Go Jay Inslee," and I was like, "Hey, I'm a Yang fan, but like I really did think that Jay Inslee did a good job this debate." And like just yesterday, I saw that he had like 10,000 followers and he was tweeting only about Yang, and so it's like sow those seeds where you can. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that's exactly what I hope would happen, which is that as people drop out, they will start to, they'll start to look for other candidates, and it'll trickle up, if you will, towards Yang, right? Okay. So the last thing I wanted to cover on the climate change is how do you fit it with the Green New Deal? Because a lot of people in the Sunrise Movement, that's their litmus test, which is, do you support the Green New Deal? And that's a tricky question because for those of you who don't have a full grasp of what the Green New Deal is, one thing people don't realize, it's not a singular bill. It's not a singular. Yeah, it's a what's it called, referendum, which basically says that they'll prioritize these things, but it doesn't have actual policy implementations, right? And so that's where other candidates like Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, that's where everybody kind of contributes their own plan to accomplish the goals in Green New Deal. And so when people ask whether or not Andrew Yang supports the Green New Deal, I think it would be wise for really any candidate to, for better or for worse, give what's essentially a politician answer, because if you can't say yes and you can't say no, because if you say yes, that's like accepting everything in the Green New Deal, and if you say no, that's rejecting everything in the Green New Deal. So yeah, so you have something to share. So what I'll just read is some quotes from Yang's climate plan, which is, quote, "The Green New Deal has done a great job in starting the conversation, and its goals of lowering emissions, converting to renewable energy, and create good-paying jobs are commendable. We need to strive for these goals and set up a realistic plan utilizing all options in order to get a fully sustainable economy ahead of 2050. And so it goes on to say, the right time to deal with this crisis was decades ago. We've waited too long, so we need to act fast and recognize that all options need to be on the table in order to adapt to the changed world we live in while mitigating behaviors that make it worse and reversing the damage we've already done." And so really, like, if you think about the fact that the Green New Deal is a guidelines document where it's setting the vision, then it's spot on, right? Because it does create, we are about creating new green jobs. I would say really not the only thing, the biggest thing that prevents us from giving an affirmative yes is the part in the Green New Deal that doesn't have to do specifically with climate, but has to do with jobs and the economy. And because there's a big provision there about a guaranteed job. And if you search on YouTube of guaranteed federal job versus guaranteed income, there's a ton of literature and videos about that. But basically, the Yang Gang stance is that universal basic income is better than a federal jobs guarantee for a lot of practical reasons. And so we are 100% on board with the jobs a Green New Deal would create. It's just a small provision there that has to do with the role it has to play with guaranteeing income or guaranteeing work. So, guaranteed income, yes. Guaranteed job, problematic. So that's why we can't give an affirmative yes. But we are 100% on board with the vision of the Green New Deal, and our Yang Climate Plan at yangclimateplan.com gives all the details of how we accomplish that. All right, so you wanted to add something.
Yeah, it's just information. Some information about the Green New Deal is that it's basically a resolution that was passed that basically agreed for everyone to try to pair fighting climate change with also providing jobs to the American people. And it actually was produced in 2006. A lot of people think that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wrote a bill called the Green New Deal and is trying to force it through the Senate, but that's not true at all. But yeah, it's been around since 2006. Jill Stein actually ran her campaign off of it. And the most recent form that the resolution has taken is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants to start a committee based around the values of the Green New Deal. And that's typically what politicians do or don't support. And so when people are like, oh, I hate the Green New Deal, it kind of helps to be ask them, what do you think that is? Because if people think it's a law, then it helps to be oh, it's not actually a law. So anyway, that's the information on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one more item on the Green New Deal, I know we've spent a lot of time talking about it, is that if anyone, oh, good question, Mark. I'll touch on that. If anyone asks, if you only have a few seconds to answer the question of what does Yang support the Green New Deal? I mean, it's oversimplistic, and we try to add a lot of nuance to it. But the short answer is yes, with an asterisk. Or if you only have a few seconds, you can say, yes, he agrees with the vision and the majority of the Green New Deal. There are specific things that we take issue with. All right, so Mark D actually asked the question, which, by the way, if anyone's watching this, I know there's only 2 people, but if anyone's watching this, you can ask questions. Doesn't Green New Deal rely on federal jobs guarantee? I don't think so, because it's there. The federal jobs guarantee is a part of it, but the Green New Deal doesn't rely on it, right? You could spend the trillions of dollars that you want to spend on fighting climate change without guaranteeing that people fill those jobs, right? So I think a lot of people would agree that you don't have to have a federal jobs guarantee. Now, you could have federal jobs, right? I mean, and again, no one's against the creation of these jobs. They're absolutely necessary. So I would say the Green New Deal does rely on new jobs created by a climate industry. It's really the one word, guarantee, that we have an issue with. But federal jobs, it's basically a federal jobs program. Oh, which actually leads to another important talking point. Andrew Yang has said this on the trail, which is that the last time we had a major spending program. Oh, okay. Let me get back to that. I'll finish the point and I'll come back to this. So, the last time the United States had a huge spending program on the scale of the Green New Deal was World War II. And World War II, I mean, obviously it was extremely deadly and catastrophic event, but economically it led to new jobs, new industries, America becoming a superpower. And so, if we could take the same attitude of if you had World War II as this giant economic stimulus, then the Green New Deal is pretty much the exact same economic stimulant. Because it's on the same level in terms of spending and global effort. So, okay, so that's really all I had on climate change. Again, it's a huge topic. There's not enough that we were able to get over, but definitely go to yangclimateplan.com and read the 5 points that if you were to memorize anything, I would recommend memorizing his timeline. So his timeline is, I have it here. By 2025, establish net zero standards for new buildings. By 2027, new nuclear reactors begin to come online. By 2030, zero emission standard for all new cars. By 2035, 100% renewable electric grid. By 2040, net zero for all transportation sectors. By 2045, 85% methane recapture. And by 2049, fully green economy. So the price tag on his total plan is $4.8 trillion over 28 years. Um, so yeah, that's it on. That's all I had prepared for climate plan in terms of talking points. I mean, the biggest thing you can do is take the time, maybe 30 minutes, to read his entire plan, and that'll equip you better than anything we can say in a 15 or 30-minute discussion. All right. Does anyone want to say anything before we move on from climate change? Oh, the matcha.
Oh, so he just wanted to ask, like, how you remind people how to get
How to get involved? Oh, yes. So go to globalclimatestrike.com, and it has a map of all of the climate strike events happening around the globe and around the country. If you live in Dallas, or if you live in Dallas-Fort Worth, the Global Climate Strike is this Friday at the Continental Bridge, aka the Large March, right? It's at 7 o'clock on Friday. The march is going to start. And if you want to support the Yang Gang, come wearing your Yang Gang shirt. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or email dallas4yang@gmail.com, and we will organize, because I want to have a large Yang Gang showing. According to Facebook, there are 200 people RSVP'd. Experience has shown that we can get a group as large as 30 or 40 people out of the Yang Gang if we really push it. So if you can imagine, like, from the debate, how effective it was that the majority of the people were Yang Gang. Imagine that if at this climate strike where all these cameras are pointed and news coverage is on, imagine if the Yang Gang was the largest group at the climate strike. Think about that, right? If you have 200 people and you have this giant crowd coming from the Yang Gang holding banners for Yang's climate plan, that will be massive. So that's why we're pushing it. So globalclimatestrike.com, find a location near you. And if you live in Dallas-Fort Worth, find us on social media to get involved, and also be there Friday, 7 o'clock. We're going to have a big turnout. So, okay, so that's that. We have one last topic on controlling the cost of higher education. I'm going to let Kennedy run that entire one. But as a little break, as a little intermission, tell us what just happened with this matcha cake.
Well, Kennedy went up to pay for someone's coffee. He came back and he bought her a matcha cake.
It's pretty good.
Paying it forward
Yeah,
in the present.
in the present.
Yeah,
Yang Gang deeds come
That was
like
really-
right back around.
he was really nice.
Yeah.
So, okay. Kennedy, take us away. You can even put the headphones on.
Yeah,
if you want for this one.
Sorry, I have like materials that I'm using. Okay, so one of the policies that Andrew Yang has to control the cost of higher education for colleges. He also has a separate policy about pushing vocational schools more. I don't have material for that. I'm so sorry. I only have the ones on controlling the cost of higher education. So just some numbers to throw at you. College tuition has gone up 440% since the baby boomer generation. This makes me so mad when my grandparents are like, I just got a summer job and paid it off. That is not how it works anymore. The average student graduates with about $40K in student loans, but there are plenty of other people, a high percentage that graduate with $100,000 in student loans. Education hasn't really gotten any better either, and so it's gone up 440%, but we're not seeing better classes or better subjects that are being taught, and also a lot of that money doesn't go to professors. It goes to administrative staff, so like the head of parking at your campus, that money goes to them instead of your professors. And they also have a lot of poor incentives. And so there are a whole bunch of statistics of like what university has the nicest landscaping on campus, and that is an incentive for them to put money into, like planting rose bushes instead of actually investing in their students. So Yang has a plan for that. So in the 1970s, the ratio of administrators to students was 50-1. And right now it's 30-1. And so he wants to gradually increase it back up to that 50. Or no, sorry, the desired ratio is 30-1. Right now it's something like 20-1. And so he wants to gradually increase that ratio back up to 50-1. His goal is 30. But yeah, it's like there's a lot more administrators now than there were. The other thing is there are these rankings, like the U.S. News and the World Report rankings, that show schools as like, UT Dallas is like the 7th ranked school in the world for geoengineering or something like that. But a lot of them skew the data. And so, for instance, one thing SMU did, or maybe that wasn't SMU, but it was some college, said that 99% of our graduates find a job after they graduate. And what they did is they would pair with companies who would hire their graduates for 1 year and then fire them. And so they did, like 99% of their graduates got a job, but it was just a temp job for 1 year that, or maybe it was part-time. And so Yang wants to modify and amend those rankings to show like real performance indicators. So then there's stuff about how like the president of any university that receives public funding must meet once per year with a group of alumni to discuss their job prospects. And that's usually with an alumni that are 10 years out. And then do you guys know what the Harvard creates a University in Ohio tax? Okay, so universities with endowments of over $30 billion per year have to contribute 1% of their total endowment each year to the founding and operations of a new university, and it starts in Ohio. So Harvard right now has to pay 1% of their endowments to starting a university in Ohio. And then after that, it'll go to like Utah or somewhere else. So that way they have to start universities in other states, and they can't just be, like wherever in the same states. And then he wants to invest and support in schools that are innovating and growing. So new universities will get more support than universities that have been around for a while, or universities that have more programs shifting towards science, that are innovating in climate change technology that Andrew Yang wants to invest in. They'll get more money. And so that's kind of his big policy on controlling the cost of higher education. Especially with the administrator things, is if you're not paying for your head of parking and your co-head of parking and all the staff in that, you can actually be paying your tuition towards yourself and towards your future and your other students. So, and I have questions if we all want to answer them. Yeah. But yeah, so like, I am in college, and I pay way too much tuition. And then I'll see, like UT Dallas headlines where it'll be like, we're putting in a 3rd fountain. And I'm like, why? I can't print things for free, and you're putting in a 3rd fountain. And so it's very disappointing to see your tuition money go to be like, we're hiring, 10 more people to, clean the fax machine. Yeah, to give me parking tickets. And it's like, oh my gosh, why? Why am I paying for this much? So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Kennedy. Look at that. We've doubled in our viewership from 2 people to 4 people. Awesome. Whoever joined us, welcome. And we'll still keep rolling, but as we hit the 1 hour mark, I want to remind, who are we and what are we doing and how can you follow us? So we are the Dallas Yang Gang, or really more broadly, the DFW Yang Gang. You can see it by our shirts. We are Dallas Yang Gang. We're all about putting humanity first. You can please find us on DFW for Yang on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Also subscribe to this YouTube channel. This is our first time doing a live stream like this, so I apologize for the roughness and how we're like turning the laptop around and passing a headset around. We'll do this again next week, but I promise it'll be a lot more smoother and more produced. Hunter, hi. It's good to see you. Hunter from Tyler, Texas, and then Jim Bledsoe. Hi, welcome. So, and then HQ Gaming said Ted Cruz versus Andrew Yang. Okay, funny story. We're kind of taking a break real quick here because we just hit the 1 hour mark. But I was in Houston for the debate, and as anyone who knows, Andrew Yang challenged Ted Cruz the game of basketball, and so uh, Ted Cruz responded, "Let's do it. 4 of your paid staffers and me versus 4 of my paid staffers." And he was like, no, 1-on-1. We're not. You don't get to bring other people into this. So there was actually a real possibility up until like I was in Houston and we were texting the staff, like Carly on the Yang 2020 staff, and even as late as like 2 a.m. there was still a real possibility a game might happen because Andrew was still in Houston up until like in the afternoon of Friday. And so we were, they were giving us text. They were saying it's not a no, it's not a yes. So unfortunately, I wish there was a better ending to the story, but it eventually did not happen. But what ended up happening was I don't know whose camp it was. Who was at fault? Like, was it Ted Cruz for not coordinating, or was it like? But let's go ahead and assume it was Ted Cruz, right? Because we've all seen Andrew play. If you haven't seen it, he was practicing basketball before the debate. His very first YouTube interview was with the Fung Bros, and he actually beat them at basketball. Yeah, they were playing horse, and he actually won. So maybe he saw that he's actually a good basketball player and chickened out. But one thing that did come out of it was Nate Silver was at the airport when Andrew Yang was leaving, and so the timing of it worked out that he actually had an impromptu interview with Nate Silver at the airport of Houston. Who is Nate Silver? Nate Silver runs 538. He's a very famous political pundit, very statistic. Yeah. How will you use your freedom dividend? I would use it on a lot of things, but probably the first thing is fixing my car because it's a broken bumper.
I have a little interjection, if I may.
Yeah. Okay. So we need to. Well. Oh wait. Actually, let's get back on track and wrap up the topic of lowering the cost of higher education, and then.
Pete Buttigieg just did an interview where he talked about how automation was like his number one issue now.
Oh, okay. We'll touch on that. Yeah. Kennedy just found a video where he said Pete Buttigieg said that automation was now his number one issue. Like, wow, I wonder where that came from. All right, so Kennedy just back on track. I promise we're not going to stray too far. On the topic of controlling the cost of higher education, to wrap that up, Kennedy just shared some awesome statistics, and we'll probably publish those online on our Facebook page so you can see them for yourself and follow up on it. But I think, in the grander scheme of how we talk about education, there's a lot of candidates who are talking about free college. But none of them, except Andrew Yang, talks about actually reducing the intrinsic cost of education. And what happens is all of the countries that provide a service for free, which is good, right? I'm not against, free education or free college and stuff like that. But they all still have to struggle with the cost of how do you lower the cost of education? How do you lower the cost? But just because you make it free doesn't mean someone isn't paying for it, right? And so if you want to make education more accessible, and if you want to go even as far as making it free, you can't ignore the question of how do you reduce the cost. And Andrew Yang's the only one who does that, right? And so it's off topic, but another topic is like healthcare. And so there's a great book by T.R. Reid called Healing of America that talks about the different healthcare systems around the world. And it's the exact same thing. Like, ultimately, the great virtue to go after is universal healthcare where people don't pay out of pocket, right? But every country that does have universal healthcare, in order to get there, you still have to address the topic of how do you control the costs. And just as you need to answer the question, how do you control the cost for healthcare, you also need to answer the question, how do you control the cost of education? Because you can't have one without the other. So that's all I wanted to add on controlling costs. Kennedy, did you guys want to add something real quick before we? Oh, you just want to talk about the Pete thing? Laura, did you want to add anything? Okay, so now we are going to move on to the second half of our little workshop. We're going to stop talking at you, and we are going to start role playing and talking with each other. So um, I'm gonna get it started. So basically, if you guys want to, if there's a question you guys want to role play, like what would you do with your freedom dividend? Or actually, someone asked, how would you use your freedom dividend? So what do you want, you guys do want to do that as a first role play question? Okay. So Tony, I'm gonna ask you, how will you use your freedom dividend, and then just give your answer. All right. So ready? All right. How would you use your freedom dividend?
Well, I'm one of the people that's actually pledging to at least give 6 months of my free dividend to help local nonprofits around my area. I mean, I think that's really just lets me know, hey, I don't really care. I mean, the bag is nice, but I think that I can help just by giving something of financial to these organizations. And then the other little bit is just actually start saving for once. I mean, I think most of us have a job which stands for just over broke. So being able to save is something that a freedom dividend would allow me to do.
Yeah. That's a great answer. Does anyone have feedback on his answer? I mean, that was pretty good. All right, who wants to do it next? All right. So, Laura, could you, since you're sitting across from her, can you ask her the question, what would you do with your freedom dividend?
So in 2021, January, you get your freedom dividend. What are you going to do with it?
My car doesn't have power steering right now, and so that would be the first thing is I need to get power steering in my car. And then after that,
You have a
yes, yes, I am now a Texas citizen. But yeah, so I would have to fix my car, catch up on bills, and then eventually I would like to probably like not work. I do love working. It's very fulfilling, but I am, but it's also exhausting to try to be studying for the LSAT and also working. And so I would rather have some money to live off of where I could just focus on studying and not having to work as well. That's what I do. Laura, do you want to talk about what you would do?
I have no, it'll be a surprise.
Just like Andrew's debate surprise, we have Laura's freedom surprise. All right, so let's try a different question now. We're going to tie it in. Oh, sorry, I'm reading Jim's question. This is the question I am asking people I meet on the street. Oh, okay. So Jim said, "This is the question I am asking people I meet on the street. Often the person I ask this do not, as of yet, know about Andrew. I then explain the idea of freedom dividend. Note, I did not say spend.